When you see a parent acting out on the sideline, let me back up. I think so much of that happens because we don't realize what's going on inside of us. And so that
Mhm.
makes us do
Totally.
things that we probably wouldn't do in our right mind. So, what do you see as what's going on underneath that, that the parent hasn't yet noticed that's causing those things so that we can be more aware of that as we're cheering on our kids?
Yeah, I mean, there are probably a lot of other people you could bring on, with degrees, with doctor degrees that could talk about this too. But what I would say is I think the first most basic thing is, like, we don't know when people are showing up, what they just dealt with, right? Like, so we don't know how they're showing up, and that goes for kids when they show up to practice. So I think everybody needs to keep that in mind. So that's sort of like the baseline. But bigger picture, uh, when you think about it, I think there's a couple different things, right? I think parents care so much about their kids and their kids being successful that they will do anything possible to do that. And sometimes that energy is misdirected or misguided, right? So, what they might think is actually helping is actually hurting, right? Or deterring the child, right? Like, I've coached youth baseball, youth basketball, youth soccer, for my kids, and I see parents on the sideline that are so engaged on the sideline, so fired up, and I look at the child when the parent is yelling, and the child is shaking their head. They're like, "Dad, what are you doing?" You know, like that's taking them out of their game. Like, it is not helping. It is hurting. So the lack of awareness there from a parent thinking that they are actually doing something to help is actually, hurting that experience. So I think parents, it's figuring out where to direct their energy when they're on the sideline is an important thing. I also think because of what we've touched on a little bit here is this pay to play model, starting earlier, investing in travel teams and all those types of experiences.
If you're wearing a mortgage on your back, if I'm paying a mortgage every month, I'm more invested than
Right. You're putting in a lot of money and you're saying, I've paid $2,500 for this travel soccer club. We're traveling every weekend, like gas on the road, hotel, whatever. Like, this is a big investment. I want to see what I'm getting in return. So I need to like lean in a little bit more. And I think people start to get off kilter a little bit there when they think about it from that sense of, well, what is this going to lead to? Right. And so, um, the other crazy thing that's happened, is, and it's crazy when you step back and think about it, is what your child is doing on the field. You as a parent, it almost like has the status in the community, right? To be able to say that my child's playing on this travel team or that they did this, or how many times your son or daughter like has a great game and you're walking out of the gym and people are congratulating you and you're like, that's right, like that's
when
my
you had
child, right?
nothing to do with
Well,
it.
right,
Like,
right, right,
absolutely
right.
nothing to do with
So
that.
yeah, yeah. And so I think there's that this we've tied status in the community to success in youth sports, which is bizarre. And so I think I would just urge parents to like take a step back and pause and reflect on, like, what are we trying to get out of this? And also, like, in real time, everybody needs a self-control routine, right? Like, when I started at PCA back in 2006, I was also a high school basketball coach, and I saw myself on camera how I was reacting to what, like, I was, something would happen on the court and I would either have my hands in my face or I would turn my back. And when I saw that, I'm like, what sign is like, what signal is that showing to the kids? Cause they're going to look over at me when something goes wrong. Right. So A, we need to fix that. But B, when they do look over at me, what am I giving back to them? Right. So, that's not saying I need to be perfect and like not get mad but what is my self-control routine to show that? And whether that's like counting backwards in your head or taking a walk. Like, sometimes I would just like walk down the sideline and, you just sort of like get that in your parents on the sideline need that, right? What is their self-control routine when something goes wrong or they get fired up about a call? Like, what are they doing to not add fuel to the fire? Or because oftentimes when they start yelling, the kids feel embarrassed and then that takes them off their game. Like I haven't seen many kids when their parents like berating an
It
official
makes them
or
better.
yelling at the coach, they're like, "Yeah, that's right. You tell them." They're like, "Oh no,"